The name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host. And guess who is our guest tonight? Max Bendich.
Your father, I remember your father.
That's it. So it was nice. We had a little surprise today. Your grandson Aaron came to the studio. That was fun, right, to see him. And
there were so many memories about Aaron. Yeah, it made me feel good. I remember him from a little kid, from a child.
right.
From a child, all of a sudden, when I looked at him today, he's a man. And
He's doing well. He's very proud of him, and I'm proud of Kara. It's nice to have children like that.
And that's, I think is part of it, but we should talk about how they affect us and how we affect them.
Right.
And
but when I watch you talk with Aaron, even in the waiting room, in the green room of our studio, it's you have so many memories together, and you have a special way of communicating with Aaron that you don't communicate, let's say, with me or anybody else. You have a very unique relationship with Aaron, and it's wonderful.
And it must have been the way we started off,
Right.
and when you lived in Yonkers.
Right.
And again, that to me, I don't remember how it started, all right? But all of a sudden I remember going up to the house, getting the chair,
Right.
the carriage,
The stroller. Right.
the carriage,
Right.
and all of a sudden I'm going downstairs with Aaron.
It was Aaron.
With Aaron, only with Aaron, and believe it or not, Alan, I felt good. I don't know how to explain it, but when I was with Aaron, and he would be looking, maybe even sleeping.
Right.
It didn't mean I was with my grandson, and
I know, it was great.
I
He talks about that still.
I know
he
we talked
because he's very much into music. He has a couple of radio shows at Vassar, and a lot of his musical influence came from me, but a lot of it really came from you, because my musical influence came from you. So, and you used to sing. You told them a lot about music.
Well, and when we decided to go to, when I decided to go to Cathay House,
Right.
and I had all those records. Alan, we said this before.
Yeah.
I was interested in classical and in folk music,
Right.
and records.
But you also, what else you had? You had show tunes too, like Annie Get Your Gun, things like that.
And plays.
And plays. The musicals. Daddy,
thank
the
you.
musicals.
Alan, I forgot. Thank you.
Remember?
Now that you said it, I remember.
I mean, Ethel Merman would be in the house, singing. We'd have that in the background.
That again, I remember. Now that you told me, I remember.
I remember the record player we had. It was like you open up the top, and then you put that little record in there.
I was one of the very few people who actually kept records, and I remember this is what was happening. Started off maybe with 78s with the small ones, and became 33s,
Right.
33 and a third.
Right.
Then it became 90.
It stopped at 33 and a third.
It stopped at 33 and a third.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I noticed there was from $1 or $1.50 a record,
Right.
a quarter. What was happening? The owners knew that it's
the
going
end
to
of
be
it.
they're
That's
being replaced forever.
Right.
It actually wasn't forever, but I mean
Obsolete. Right?
Obsolete. Thank you again.
It took me a while to get it too, Pop. We both struggled with that word.
They were becoming obsolete.
Right.
And I went to town.
Right.
Alan,
I know.
and some of the records that I'm positive, I don't care, that Aaron took, we never used.
Right. Now, let's talk about that. I mean, you moved from 3127 Mickle Avenue in the Bronx to Cathay House with Mom.
Right.
And one of the things was there were like 1,000 records or
That's
more
right.
Of records that we almost threw out.
That's-
But Aaron said no dice. He wanted them all, and we took them all. And he appreciates them. It's like, to him, it's like treasure, found
right.
treasure.
Again, we had music in our brain, and maybe, and I remember in my family, with my mother, my parents, and what happened? I would take the violin.
Right.
Aaron, my brother, I had two brothers. Aaron would take the violin, and Joe would take the drum.
Right.
And we would play. We made noise. And my mother, I'm positive, I know this.
Right.
She'd draw in everybody. Look at him, Misha Elman, Yasha Haifa, and I go, yeah.
You know what's interesting also? I mean, Mommy forever. I mean, I took piano lessons from the time I was 5 till whatever it was, for like 10 years.
And I want to tell you where, in Bronx House.
Right, and Misha Elman's sister was my piano teacher.
See there?
So we have Mrs. Elman. Miss Elman was my piano, and Misha Elman's sister was his accompanist on the piano. But anyway, Mommy, you know, would always try to tell me to take the piano from your house and bring it to our house.
That's right.
For years, and we didn't do it. And we finally did. And now when Aaron comes back from school, first of all, Aaron has like 5 or 6 guitars, whatever. He has banjos, he has a ukulele, he has a little drum set, and now he has the piano. And he's playing the piano at home. So it's, Mom would have loved it. That's all I can say.
Oh, sure, definitely. Wait. From in Bronx House, they called us over, and they told us how good you were with the piano. We want you to buy a piano. Whoever, we have a violin is small, a piano. How much? $300.
But $300 back in 1960 was a lot of money.
It was unbelievable, a lot of money.
Right.
And then we found out later on that was a terrific piano,
right.
And it was worth that $300.
Absolutely, it's a great. We still have it.
And we bought you that piano, and all I know is you even have a picture that you were in another place.
Yeah.
You're playing the piano, a different piano. You are sitting in front of the piano.
Right.
Your
feet can't reach the ground.
They can't. They can't reach the ground.
We did that at Kinderland. That's where that's what it was. I actually did a recital there,
Yeah.
But it was great. And one of the memories I have about the piano, or a lot of the memories were like you used to work 6 days a week, and you'd come home from work at like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock from your route, and I might be practicing whatever, and you'd come in, you'd sit in your chair right next to the piano, and you'd sit back and you'd just listen to me play the piano, and it was like I'd look at you and I'd say, oh, I'm doing okay. I'm making my father feel good.
La 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 dee, da.
And
How
also,
can I remember?
da 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 da.
Ta-da-dum,
And
ta-dum,
also,
ta-dum.
right, that's it.
La 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 da da dee, da da-dum.
And you'd be there like this. You'd be closing your eyes with a big smile on your face. And it was, Daddy, those were the best memories that I have. Some of the best memories.
And Alan, I hear you. I can still hear you playing that.
And I still remember some of those songs, and I still play them on the piano.
What? I remember one time you came over from California, and you la 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 la.
Oh, and also, it's funny because when I was in Hollywood, we were having like a staff meeting of all the bartenders and cocktail waitresses, and there was a baby grand there, and I played that song, and everyone said, oh, "Wow, I thought he was just a bartender," So it was interesting. It's
we were a musical family.
right.
We also read books.
Oh.
Alan,
How many books did we have in the house?
I still have some books from my family, from my mother, I still have the books from that time on,
Right.
And they are relics.
Right, and you have books. I remember you have the different fairy books. What was it?
The blue fairy book, the yellow fairy book,
from like 1910, 1915, and you had books in Yiddish.
Oh, I still have now. I have books in Yiddish, and in K House again. I am the only one. Alan, it's a shame. I want to explain something.
Sure, explain anything you want. It's your show.
Lately, we're having music, talks about music, and I get up and I talk Yiddish.
Right.
But besides that, what do? I sing Yiddish.
Yeah.
And we get singers from Manus Music and Juilliard. They sing opera and everything. And sometimes they sing Yiddish. And I'm one of the guys who actually sings with them. And
it's nice, right? Does it bring back nice memories?
Alan.
Did your parents sing songs? Do you remember your parents singing songs at all?
But my mother would read. And Alan, again, what would she read? Russian stories.
Oh.
And then she said to me, Max, come over here. I want you to hear this. Now, she could read about 4 or 5 lines.
Oh, but did you understand Russian at all?
No,
So
nothing.
would she read it in
That's
Russian?
right, she'd read it in Russian.
And you'd be
listen
like,
to it, Aaron. Listen to it, Max. Yeah, listen to Max. Look how she. And my mother, I think, she must have loved love stories. You know, in America they had the same thing. The girls would.
oh, I have a question then. And this, because you say that. Did you ever go to the Yiddish theater when you were a young man?
No. Everybody, no. Most of the Yiddish people
Yeah.
went down to secondary. Almost all the. Once upon a time, there were 20 Yiddish-speaking theaters.
Right.
Plays. They had, and some of them, and I'm only talking about Yiddish, nothing about
Right.
it. They ended up with people crying, people laughing, and the whole thing was the actors and the playwrights knew the feelings of the Jewish people who just came over.
Right.
And
So you could relate. They knew how to pull on those heartstrings, right?
that's it.
I know.
And what have I got now in the house?
What?
I'm the only one. And I even show about 2 or 3 or 4 Yiddish movies, good Yiddish movies. They
I can ask you a question. When you watch the Yiddish movies, because it's been a long time since you've actually spoken Yiddish, do you understand every word that's being said?
90%.
Oh, you do.
95.
So you still remember?
95. I speak it. I talk that way.
But not as fluently as you used to.
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
no, not at.
So, but you could still understand more fluently than speak.
Yeah.
That's the question.
And,
Question mark at the end.
And
Yes?
I'm one of the very few.
Right.
And again, I want to tell you, and I want to tell everybody about this.
Yes.
When my parents came over here,
Yes.
the first thing their relatives told them, and I'm going to say it, red nicht Yiddish,
Right.
don't talk Yiddish, red English.
Right.
And then they'd tell you the reason why.
You know, I was watching an old episode of The Way to Go when we were talking. We had the same conversation, but I love it. This is the best, Pop. But it's true. But do you think they did wrong by doing that, Pop? That's the question.
No, wait.
So you think assimilation is important?
In the end, it has to be. In the end, it has to be. But assimilation, don't forget where you came from.
Yeah, but the problem is with, at least, you know, like with Yiddish, a lot of people have forgotten. You know what I mean? It's like no one knows Yiddish.
No.
Yiddish is unfortunately a dead language, really.
It's
right?
not a dead.
Almost.
It's not a dead language.
Yeah.
But I hope I'm wrong.
It's
but
on-
it's not. Maybe
It's-
a dying.
Right.
language.
It's on what's it? It's
Yeah,
on the critical list. But but you know where they speak Yiddish? In Borough Park, the Orthodox Jewish
I was going
people
to tell you that.
and Williamsburg, they all speak Yiddish.
Yeah. No, I don't understand it.
Right.
The Orthodox, the Hasidim.
Right.
We were lucky. We went to Israel, and I saw first Mom. She saw my uncle, my mother's brother.
Right.
Then I did the same thing. We went there.
Who is Baruch? Was that Baruch? Was that her mother, her uncle? Baruch. Baruch.
Mom.
Mom's uncle.
That's right.
Okay, but who did you visit when you went to Israel?
Mom's
Your mother's mother? Your mother's
Mom's brother.
What was his name? Do you remember?
Mordecai, really.
Oh, that's a nice name.
Now, just imagine, my mother came here about in 1912. I was born 1915.
Right.
About 1912 or 13, I don't remember. Her brother came to Jerusalem at that
Right.
to Europe.
Right.
He had the British were shooting at him. Right, he made it.
Right.
And he would write us letters about Jerusalem. Jerusalem was on top of a hill,
Yeah.
and at that time, what's so particular about Jerusalem? It's a swamp. It's this and that. And what are we doing? We're going up hills. I'm taking down rocks, and they were the pioneers. And then little by little, they made Israel, and it was a rough life. It was a rough, but they were young. They were the young people.
So, Dad, do we still have relatives in Israel?
We have, unbelievable, we have more relatives than we have here. I have first cousins, second cousins. When he moved there, so he was married, and he had, I don't know, I think he had about 3 children, or 3 or 4 children. They had children, they got children, and children. They were, in Israel, they were getting children. And
How'd they do that? No, just kidding. Okay.
and David, your brother,
Yeah.
David and I went to Israel, and he was a doctor at that time.
Right.
And we started talking. They forgot about me. A doctor from Israel is coming.
From America?
From America. From America.
Doctor from America.
And the relative.
Your mother must be proud. Hey.
But again, I believe I have a hat. I'm not wearing
Life
it.
is good.
And the hat, Alan, life is good.
Yes, it is.
And why? Because we live with memories.
Right.
It helps us out.
Now, Dad, we have relatives down in Israel. Where else do we have? I know Mom has relatives in Argentina.
I was going to say, we have relatives in Argentina. A cousin of ours married in our house on 528 East 136th Street.
Right.
He was a lucky man. He opened up a dry goods store somewhere, and he opened it up a little larger, and then those two people moved to Brazil. They moved to Brazil, not to Rio de Janeiro first. They moved to a very big city north of that,
Okay.
and they made a success out of it.
Yes.
And then they went to Rio de Janeiro, and their store was almost as big as Macy's.
Wow.
It
Sounds like someone I should visit.
Oh, and David, your brother, said, "Why didn't you keep on from that?" I wonder. But
Yeah.
And now about Argentina, that was already after the Holocaust.
Right.
The Holocaust, they ran to something else. Who was there also? The Nazis. They ran from Argentina. I don't want to talk about again. Alan, we lived the way we had to live.
Right.
And it was a success. How it happened, we were a together family.
Right.
And that Yiddish,
Right.
Bubby, your grandmother and your grandfather, the first thing they did, they spoke. My language was this. English was the second language.
Right.
Yiddish was the first.
Not Dad. When your grandmother came to the United States.
No.
I mean,
a small little lady,
Right.
my father's mother, and we have a few pictures of her. I don't know, maybe it was.
probably
it was my bar mitzvah.
I would say probably Mimi has those pictures.
No, I mean, but what do you see? At that time, what was a synagogue? A two-family house right near. They broke down. The women would stay on top.
Right.
And the men would stay on the bottom.
I think it's still like that now in some
I
of the
know,
Orthodox.
right. Even in Cathay House,
Right.
we have, there's called the Messiah, I don't know, there's a linen
Oh, to separate.
to separate,
Right.
and there's only 2 or 3, it's a shame, 2 or 3 Jewish women from all the place, that's all that come here.
Right.
That come.
The rest aren't
And
interested. Right.
And that's a shame also. What happened with me, we went to Israel one time. Alan, Mom and I went to Israel, and she's unpacking, and we were on El Al.
Right.
This is something I forgot to tell you. El Al, and we're putting they're going to search our, and we're helping them out. Everybody was doing that. And all of a sudden, a man comes over to me. And in Yiddish, he asked me, "Are you Jewish?" I said, "Yes." "Look, I need you for a
Mincha? Mincha? Or
again,
you need 10 people? You need it
for 10 people.
Whatever, I can't think of the word. Okay.
You want,
All right.
and that's something I forgot the word.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. It'll come.
I said, "What, are you kidding?"
Right.
No kidding. That's not my act.
Right.
Are you
In LL, they couldn't find 10 people for...
No, no. When you go to with LL,
Yeah.
they're praying over here, they're praying over
they
there,
need
they're
another 10
praying over
people.
for this. And I said, "I'm sorry, you see me working?" He said, "Okay," and he walked away. And Mom said to me, "Who is he?" I said, he's looking for
A 10th. That's okay, for a 10th person.
The 10th man.
Right.
So I said we couldn't do it. "What do you mean you couldn't do it?"
Right.
"Mac, come on, I want you to go over.
Right.
They need you because they have to pray."
Right.
So I went over to him, and I actually told him that I was going to do it.
Right.
All he just said, thank you, come on, come over there.
Right.
And now
A minion.
A minion.
Boom. Okay, thank you.
Give me a, give me a hand. Give me
A minion.
Every Saturday.
A minion, right? Is that the
M,
word?
with not a million, a minion.
A minion. Right, that's what I said, a minion.
Now the minion is a very important thing. It's for 10 men. And Alan, right now, so we come into Cathay House.
Right.
And we're going in the elevator and we see what's happening on a Thursday and a Tuesday and a Saturday. And I don't see the word Orthodox.
Right.
I don't see the word, we are having services. And I said, Mac, I want you to go there. I'm looking, the place has 2 or 3. It's all women, very little men. They need you. I said, Dorothy, come on, please. I went. And from that moment on, Alan,
You've gone.
I started going there. Right. And quite a few times, we did not have a minion, even with me. Right. And we were looking, and we were looking, and we didn't have services because we, again, people just don't want to. They didn't want to have.
You know, it seems like in general, I mean, I most of the people I know aren't religious people. You know, I mean, it seems like right now, it's not doing as well as it used to do. You know, the religious business.
We could talk about that. It seems that also they have, besides Orthodox, conservative, Reform, and different
denominations.
Thank you. Help me out, my friend.
You got it.
Denominations, and people are more inclined to go to those.
Right.
Why? And not to the Orthodox.
Less strict.
The Orthodox are
hardliners.
Hardline, hard. Right. And again, they are the ones, I once had an argument, I think they are the ones that have kept Yiddish. Why? Because the Orthodox speak Yiddish.
Because that's the language of the Jewish people.
Well, maybe that's the reason.
That could be the reason.
But Alan, in Israel,
right. No one speaks Yiddish.
No.
Oh, they all speak Yiddish? I don't know.
There's a section.
Right.
Let's say like Soho, but this is a big section, unbelievable.
Right.
Only Yiddish.
Wow.
Why? They were the Hasidim, and they are the ultra-Orthodox Jews.
Right.
Even in America,
right.
They speak Yiddish.
Right. I used to work in Borough Park, and all the people that I worked with who lived in Borough Park spoke Yiddish. Every now and then I could understand what they were talking about because they thought they were talking to someone who didn't understand, but I remember I could pick up some words here and there.
And I want to say something about that.
Yeah.
So my father and I used to go knocking at doors, seriously, knocking at doors. Have you got a Jewish? We want to open up a Jewish children's school.
Yeah.
And all right, no charge, and we would get a young girl to be a teacher. Who was it for us? A young girl, Mom's sister, Sylvia.
Wow.
She, not only that, she kept on being the teacher. She went higher and higher, and then someone else went higher and higher. My brother Aaron. Eventually, we talked about that before about my brother Aaron.
Right.
But he liked the language, and he had the time to do it. And because of his position and everything else, I couldn't. I was working day and night almost. And he went to, they call it gymnasia, almost like in college.
Right.
And whenever he used to go to Europe, most of it to the Soviet Union, for different kind of, he was one of the biggest scientists in the world, and he would write to my mother, to my parents, in Yiddish. I still have postcards from Aaron. My mother saved them. And Alan, our life.
You know, some of that stuff really is kind of historical in nature because of who Aaron was and just in general. I mean, the things you talk about, you know, there's not many people around that could still talk about these kind of things. I mean, these are historical events, really.
we never considered them a historical.
But now when you look at it in terms of being able to, I mean, how many people talk about what you talk about? You know,
I want to tell you, I don't know if we didn't talk. Aaron, my brother Aaron, which he built, he and 26 others built
Sloan Kettering. That's right. One of the original directors.
He also he had an office for all his life in Sloan Kettering, and he would make vials. He would blow. He made his own equipment.
I know. I remember. He was a glass blower.
He was a glass blower.
He was unbelievable.
And then when he died, I think I told you.
But it's okay. You can say it again.
David, when he was a kid, 3 years old, David is my son, your brother, was playing on the porch, and he came on. It's a fence. How he got on the other side of the fence, I don't know. And a little girl pushed him. Right. He fell down and went to the hospital. And when he came back from the hospital, in Jacoby Hospital, he was told, we were told before, everything is fine. Right. But when he's going to grow up, he's going to have trouble with his back. So what happened, just by luck, he became a doctor, a pediatrician. When you go, and how was he walking? Around. Right. Why? That's what happened with the back. When he fell. How long? I
remember.
Now comes a little sadness. It's a big sadness. So, David worked as in Montefiore, right. And his friend was a surgeon. And one day his friend says to him, "I don't give a hang what you say. We talked about this. I'm going to take you and give you an operation. Right. I'm going to take two from your spine, right. 2 bones out, and I'm going to take them off, and I'm going to put 2 nuts and bolts, and you're going to be standing up." So he convinced them, and they're gone. Now David went to get the operation. He goes to Aaron, invites him. Aaron, my brother, invites him from Sloan Kettering to have, and he lived right across the street from the New York Hospital and Sloan Kettering.
You're going to have to talk a little quicker, Pop.
What happened? He invites him for a party. Right. They go out of the next day he was going to be operated. Right. They go out of the restaurant, right. And Aaron drops dead.
I remember.
And that was unbelievable.
And I was at my girlfriend's house at the time, and of all people, Frankie Flores, Frank Sinclair, came over to my girlfriend's house to tell me that Aaron died. It was, I'll never forget that day. And it was one of the roughest days.
Yeah, so wait,
but no, I can't wait, Dad. I can't wait. But if you know, it's an amazing story.
To be continued.
It will be continued. But Dad, there's only, as I always say at this point in time, there's really only one thing left to say. And do you know what that is?
What?
That's a wrap. Good night.